You're struggling? You're struggling? With them push-ups?
Family calling, man. I need this. Everybody, like, it's not right, my.
All right, let's talk about the latest bombshell that's got everyone talking, K Osiris and Diddy. A new video has surfaced, and it's throwing the spotlight on what could be a much darker relationship between the two. This isn't just another Hollywood rumor. We're talking about a potential scandal that could blow up in ways nobody saw coming. The footage, which shows them in an elevator, has people speculating that their connection goes way beyond just music. And the whispers about Diddy's infamous parties, let's just say they're getting louder.
Trying to be no tough guy. I just make music for the women. I love the women. I like making music.
Now, if you've been following K Osiris' career, you know he's had his ups and downs. He burst onto the scene as this young, fresh talent with hits like Valentine and Worth It. That song was everywhere. Triple platinum, massive streams, and people were calling him the next big thing. But let's rewind for a second, because behind the glitz and glamour, there's been a lot going on in Osiris' life that's far from picture perfect. And now, with this Diddy situation, things are getting murkier by the day. Let's start with the video that's got everyone talking. It shows K Osiris and Diddy in an elevator, and while at first glance it might seem like nothing, people are picking it apart, frame by frame. There's something about their body language, something about the way they're interacting that's making everyone raise their eyebrows. It's almost like there's an unspoken tension there, and the internet is running wild with theories. Is this video proof of something deeper going on between them? It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely adding fuel to the fire.
You don't owe me no money right now. I swear, I need a full performance though. The real though.
And honestly, it's not like this is coming out of nowhere. There have been rumors swirling around Diddy for years, and K Osiris just seems to be the latest name caught up in the mix. Diddy's notorious for throwing these over-the-top parties, and they're not just your standard Hollywood get-togethers. These are multi-day, wild events where anything goes, and people are starting to wonder just how far things have gone at these gatherings. There are whispers that Diddy uses these parties as a way to manipulate young artists, pulling them into his orbit with promises of fame and fortune, only to trap them in situations they can't easily escape from.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, sexual assault, and rape at the hands of Diddy.
And that's where K Osiris comes in. He's young, he's talented, and for a while, it seemed like he was on top of the world. But if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that things started going downhill for him pretty fast. After his initial success, the hits stopped coming, and his personal life became more and more chaotic. There were financial problems, accusations about his behavior, and even some pretty serious legal trouble. It's like the more famous he got, the more things started falling apart for him. So how does Diddy fit into all this? Well, there's a theory going around that Diddy saw K Osiris' vulnerability and used it to his advantage. Think about it. Here's a young artist, fresh off his first taste of real success, but struggling to maintain it. He's got money problems, he's getting into public spats with other rappers over debts, and he's making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Enter Diddy, a seasoned industry veteran with connections and influence, someone who could help Osiris get back on track. But what if that help came with strings attached? Diddy's been known to surround himself with young, up-and-coming artists, and while on the surface, it looks like he's mentoring them, there's always been this undercurrent of something more going on. There have been rumors for years about Diddy's freak-off parties, these wild multi-day bashes where anything and everything is said to happen. And according to some sources, these parties weren't just about having a good time. They were about control. The idea is that Diddy would record everything that happened at these parties, and those recordings. Yeah, they weren't just for personal memories. They were leverage.
That's part of the indictment. That's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
Imagine being a young artist, desperate to make it in the industry, and you get invited to one of Diddy's parties. You're surrounded by celebrities. The drinks are flowing. The atmosphere is electric. But then things start getting out of hand. Maybe you do something you wouldn't normally do, something you regret next morning, but by then it's too late. Diddy's got it all on tape and you're stuck. If you try to speak out or go against him, those tapes could ruin you. It's a chilling thought, and it's exactly what people are speculating might have happened to K Osiris. Now, we don't know for sure if K Osiris was involved in any of these parties, but the timing is definitely suspicious. His career was on a downward spiral, and then suddenly he's popping up in videos with Diddy. It's not hard to imagine that he might have been drawn into Diddy's world, especially if he was looking for a way to get his career back on track. But if those parties are as bad as people say they are, then Osiris might have found himself in way over his head.
Nah, but Drake my brother though. Like that's my boy. So it's like when we bet and gamble, like it's really ain't about no money. It's really about this fun.
And that brings us back to the elevator video. People are saying it could be connected to one of Diddy's infamous recordings, which would explain why there's so much buzz around it. If Diddy really did record his parties, and if this video is part of that, then we're talking about a major scandal that could take down more than just K Osiris. There's already talk that other big names in the industry could be involved, and if those tapes come out, it's going to be a very messy situation. Cyrus isn't the only one who's been pulled into Diddy's orbit over the years. There are plenty of other young artists who've been linked to him, and some of them have faced similar struggles. Take Usher, for example. He's another artist who was mentored by Diddy at a young age, and there have been rumors for years about what really went on during that time. Usher has never come out and said anything directly, but there have been enough hints and whispers to make people wonder. And now, with K Osiris' situation blowing up, people are starting to take a closer look at Diddy's relationships with other young artists as well.
Diddy would be throwing all his celebrity mates under the bus.
I mean, that could potentially be coming when it's time for court and when it's time for him to testify. But what we're seeing right now is how important public relations really are to Sean Combs. He's desperately trying to control the narrative behind bars, allowing his attorneys to do documentaries.
And let's not forget Justin Bieber. He was also mentored by Usher, who was close to Diddy at the time, and there are some seriously creepy stories about the way Diddy interacted with Bieber when he was just a teenager. There's even a video from a few years ago where Diddy talks about how he was basically given custody of Bieber for a couple of days, and the whole thing just feels off. Now, with all the attention on Diddy's past, people are starting to revisit those old stories and wonder if there was more going on behind the scenes than anyone realized. It's not just about what happened at the parties either. There's also the question of how Diddy treated the young men in his circle on a day-to-day basis. There have been reports that he was incredibly controlling, that he would manipulate these artists into doing things they didn't want to do in exchange for his support. And if they ever tried to break away from him, well, that's when the real trouble started. There are rumors that Diddy used those infamous tapes to keep people in line, making sure they never spoke out about what they'd seen or done.
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the shoe have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on side watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest.
It's a classic power play, and it's something we've seen time and time again in the entertainment industry. These young artists get caught up in the glitz and glamour, but before they know it, they're trapped. They can't speak out, because if they do, their careers and their lives could be ruined. And that's the scary part about all of this. If K Osiris really is caught up in this mess, he might not even realize how deep it goes. And let's not forget, K Osiris has been open about his struggles with mental health. He's talked about feeling like nobody in the industry supports him, and there was that disturbing Instagram live video where he basically said he didn't want to live anymore. He talked about feeling like a joke, like nobody takes him seriously, and it was heartbreaking to watch. But what if that's all part of a bigger issue? What if his struggles aren't just about his career, but about something darker going on behind the scenes?
So you tell me why should I keep living? I don't get it. Like, why y'all saying like y'all would tell me all the time.
In that video, Osiris mentioned that people like Drake and Lil Baby don't talk to him anymore, and he seemed genuinely hurt by that. He even hinted that someone had stolen a large sum of money from him, and while he tried to laugh it off, it was clear that he was in a really bad place. And then, just a few weeks later, we see him in this video with Diddy, looking like he's caught up in something way bigger than he can handle. It's hard not to connect the dots. And speaking of Drake, let's talk about that whole situation for a second. Remember when Drake called out K Osiris for owing him a massive debt? Instead of making Osiris pay up, Drake made him perform his hit song Worth It. Made him perform his hit song Worth It right there in his mansion as a form of repayment. It was all caught on video, and while it was framed as a funny, lighthearted moment, there was something a little sad about it too. Here's K Osiris, this young artist who was supposed to be the next big thing, and now he's singing for his super, literally. It was a reminder of just how far he'd fallen, and it made people wonder what was really going on behind the scenes.
I'm not Baby, I'm not Boosie. You don't owe me no 2 rags, 5 rags. You owe me 60 bags. I'm playing the song right now. You ready?
And that's the thing with K Osiris. His life is full of these moments where it seems like he's right on the edge of something bigger, but he just can't quite get there. His career started off so strong, but then it all fell apart so quickly. And now, with this Diddy video circulating, it feels like we're finally starting to get some answers about what's really been going on. But those answers, they're not looking good. The more you dig into this story, the more questions you end up with. How did K Osiris go from being one of the hottest young artists in the game to being caught up in this mess? What really happened at those parties? And how much did Diddy know about it? And most importantly, is there more to this story that we haven't even heard yet?
Nigga, I bet like I'm not making money from music.
It's clear that K Osiris is struggling, and it's heartbreaking to watch. But if these rumors about Diddy are true, then Osiris might not be the only one. There could be a whole group of young men who've been caught up in this same web of manipulation. And if that's the case, then we're looking at a scandal that could shake the entertainment industry to its core. And that brings us to the big question: what happens next? If this video is as explosive as people are saying, then we could be on the verge of a major reckoning. Diddy has been a powerhouse in the industry for decades, but if he's been using his influence to exploit young artists, then his reign could be coming to an end. And if K Osiris is just the tip of the iceberg, then who knows how many other names might come out of the woodwork?
Today, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
Now, if you thought K Osiris was the only one caught up in this mess, let us tell you, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. We're not just talking about one artist being manipulated or exploited. The deeper you dig, the more you realize that this is part of a much bigger pattern. And it's not just K Osiris who might fall in victim to Diddy's influence. There's a whole list of young talent who've come into Diddy's orbit. And the stories that are starting to trickle out, they're painting a very disturbing picture. Let's not forget, Diddy's been in the game for decades. He's got the power, the money, everything. And with that kind of power, he's been able to pull a lot of strings. But the question is, how many people has he tangled up in this web? Because it's not just about K Osiris. There are other names being whispered in connection with Diddy's infamous parties and his supposed manipulation tactics. And if these rumors are true, we're looking at a scandal that could take down a lot more than just one person.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment, as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
Let's start with some of the other artists who've been linked to Diddy over the years. One name that's been floating around recently is that of King Combs, Diddy's own son. Now, King Combs, also known as Christian Combs, has been trying to make his mark in the music industry for a while now. He's got the looks, the connections, and obviously the last name. But some people are starting to wonder if his rise to fame is as organic as it seems. There's been speculation that Diddy has been pulling a lot of strings behind the scenes to ensure that his son's career takes off, maybe even at the expense of other young artists. And here's where things get interesting. There's a rumor going around that Diddy has been using these parties, these freak-offs, as a way to not only control the people in his immediate circle, but also to boost his son's career. Think about it. If you've got a bunch of young, up-and-coming artists all vying for your attention, wouldn't it be easy to manipulate the situation so that your own son comes out on top? Some people are saying that Diddy has been using these parties to create a kind of hierarchy, where the artists who play along with his games get ahead, while those who don't find themselves pushed to the sidelines.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
And King Combs? He's been right there in the middle of it all. There have been whispers that he's attended some of these wild parties, and while there's no concrete evidence to suggest that he's been involved in anything shady, the fact that his name keeps coming up is enough to raise some eyebrows. People are starting to question whether King Combs' success is really due to his own talent, or if it's more about his father's connections and influence behind the scenes. And if Diddy has been using these parties as a way to manipulate the industry, what does that say about the kind of environment King Combs has been raised in? But the rumors don't stop with Diddy's son. There's another name that's been coming up in connection to these parties, and that's Tory Lanez. Now, we all know Tory has had his fair share of controversies, but this one might just take the cake. According to some sources, Tory Lanez was a regular at Diddy's freak-offs, and while he hasn't spoken up publicly about what went down at these events, insiders are saying that he was very much involved in the scene. Some people are even suggesting that Tory might have been one of the artists who benefited from Diddy's manipulation tactics, that he played along with the games and was rewarded with more exposure and opportunities in the industry.
You in his pool with socks on.
We saw you in his pool with socks on.
We saw you on his plane. How that relationship started? How y'all got, y'all close?
Yeah.
Now, this is where things start to get really murky. Because if Tory Lanez was involved in these parties, what does that say about his own rise to fame? Was he just another pawn in Diddy's game? Or was he trying his own game all along? There's no way to know for sure, but the fact that his name keeps coming up in connection with Diddy's parties is enough to make people wonder. And let's not forget, Tory Lanez has been involved in some pretty serious legal issues recently, so it's not hard to imagine that he might have gotten caught up in something much bigger than himself. But it's not just about the artists who were directly involved with Diddy. There's also the question of the people who were around these parties, the ones who might seen what was going on but didn't say anything. One name that's been floating around a lot lately is French Montana. Now, French has been tight with Diddy for years, and they've been spotted together at plenty of industry events. But according to some insiders, French was also a regular at these parties, and while there's no suggestion that he was directly involved in anything shady, people are starting to wonder what he might have seen and what he might have kept quiet about.
And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch.
French Montana has always been a bit of a mystery in the industry. He's had his moments of success, but he's never quite reached the same level of fame as some of his peers. And now, with all these rumors about Diddy's party swirling around, people are starting to question whether French's career has been held back because he didn't want to play Diddy's game, or whether he's been benefiting from his association with Diddy all along. It's hard to say for sure, but one thing's clear. French Montana's connection to Diddy is raising some serious questions. And then there's the issue of what happens to the people who don't play along. We've already seen how K Osiris's career has taken a nosedive, but he's not the only one who struggled after getting involved with Diddy. There are other artists, some of them lesser known, some of them once on the verge of breaking through, who found themselves suddenly out of the spotlight after crossing paths with Diddy. One name that's been coming a lot recently is Jacques.
This is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
Now, Jacques was supposed to be the next big thing. He had the voice, the look, the charisma, everything. And for a while, it seemed like he was on his way to the top. But then all of a sudden, his career seemed to stall. His music wasn't getting the same traction it once did, and he started to fade into the background. Some people are saying that Jacques got caught up in Diddy's world and didn't want to play by the rules. And if that's the case, it would explain why his career has taken such a sharp turn. Maybe he wasn't willing to go along with the games, and now he's paying the price. There's another angle to this story that can't be ignored, and that's the role of the industry itself. We all know that the music industry is full of power plays and backroom deals, but what we're talking about here goes beyond just business. These rumors about Diddy's parties and his manipulation of young artists suggest that there's something much darker going on behind the scenes. And if Diddy's been able to get away with this for so long, it raises the question, how many other powerful figures in the industry are doing the same thing?
Done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
Because let's be real, Diddy's not the only one with this kind of influence. There are plenty of other moguls in the music business who have the power to make or break careers. And if Diddy's been using his power to exploit young artists, it's hard to imagine that he's the only one. What we're seeing here could just be the tip of the iceberg. If more people start coming forward, we could be looking at a full-blown industry reckoning. And speaking of people coming forward, let's talk about one name that's been on everyone's lips lately, Cassie. Now, Cassie was Diddy's longtime partner, and while their relationship was always a bit of a mystery, things took a darker turn when she filed a lawsuit against him, claiming that he had been abusive throughout their relationship. That lawsuit was settled quickly, but it opened up a whole new can of worms. Because if Diddy was capable of treating someone like Cassie, someone he was supposed to care about, in such a horrific way, what does that say about how he's been treating the young artists in his circle?
A U.S. judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male workers across state lines to take part in recorded performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
Cassie's lawsuit might have been settled, but the allegations she made have stuck with people. And now, with all these other rumors about Diddy's parties and his manipulation of young talent swirling around, it's hard not to connect the dots. Was Cassie just another victim of Diddy's power games? If so, how many other people have been caught up in the same situation? It's not just about the artists either. There are rumors that Diddy's parties attracted all sorts of high-profile guests, athletes, actors, even politicians. And while there's no concrete evidence to suggest that any of these guests were involved in anything shady, the fact that they were present at these events raises some serious questions. If these parties were as wild as people are saying, and if there were hidden cameras capturing everything that went down, then we could be looking at a much bigger scandal than anyone realizes.
Some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshall's inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week.
Imagine if those tapes, the ones that are rumored to exist, were to surface. We're talking about footage that could potentially ruin careers, destroy relationships, and expose some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. And the fact that these tapes supposedly exist, it's enough to make anyone nervous. Because if Diddy really does have recordings of everything that went down at his parties, then he holds a lot of power over a lot of people. And that's a dangerous position to be in. So where does this leave us? Right now, it feels like we're on the edge of something huge. The rumors about Diddy's parties, his manipulation of young artists, and the potential existence of incriminating tapes are swirling faster than ever. And with K Osiris's name now in the mix, it feels like we're just starting to scratch the surface of what's really been going on.
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. I mean, how long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come, within the next 2 years?
But here's the thing. We still don't have all the answers. The stories that are coming out are shocking, but they're still just rumors. What we need now is for people to start speaking out, to come forward and tell their side of the story. Because if even half of these rumors are true, then we're looking at a scandal that could shake the entertainment industry to its core. As this explosive situation continues to unfold, the questions surrounding Diddy and K Osiris only grow more intense. Could Diddy's influence over young artists lead to darker, more sinister implications? And what will it take for those who have been caught in his web to finally speak out? Let us know in the comments below.